Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Than Mitchell.
Greetings and
wow.
We're enjoying watching the sharp, HD, well-illuminated, ultra-crystal clear audio video. That
I had Margaret polish my head this morning.
Oh, did she?
Yep.
Right, and it looks buffified.
It's furniture polish just does a wonderful job there. Hurts
Looks
a little
perfect.
bit in the afternoon, but what the heck.
Made my hair gray. Did you notice that?
No, your hair's not gray. That's just a lighting thing in here. Isn't that what you told me to say?
You're right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, don't tell people it's really gray. It's been gray. I've had gray hair, a little gray hair since, about 30 or so.
I've had a little hair since I was 30 or so.
All righty. Well, welcome aboard. As you can tell, the wisdom of Winfield has returned. The teacher of Turtleville is back in the studios.
The Turk of Turtleville. No, that doesn't work at all.
No, not really.
No.
But
you certainly can't just use the first part of Turtle of Turtleville, or you get really silly then.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So we don't want to even go there.
No, don't even go there.
Well, as we have alluded, the webcam is up and running. We invite you to go to wkok.com. You can watch our show via the webcam. We do have the lighting adjusted. The camera angle is slightly different, and it looks good. It doesn't look bad. I think these lights do good because it's an HD camera anyway, and we weren't giving them enough to eat.
It looked really looked good yesterday when you and Joe were on. Monday when you and Ben were on, you had several guests, but today you got an old bald guy and a gray-headed guy. What happened here?
Yeah, they got gray and grayer.
Yeah.
So,
gray and gone.
Gray and gone. Okay, well said. So that is happening in this studio. I'm Mark Lawrence, host of the show. Than Mitchell is my co-host today. On the other side of the glass is the greatest engineer in the universe, the man who is presently storing all of his awards in Utah. He just came home with another...
Underground.
Right.
Yes.
He had to do that because there's so many of them, and that is Kevin Herr. He is the producer of our show today, and he has got many, 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 many awards. And so we think that's all good that he spends his time helping us. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 11 to 15 Hummels Wharf. Find out lots more about them at sunburymotors.com. They always invite you to visit the Quick Lane on North 4th Street in Sunbury. That's where they specialize in all types of service on vehicles, state inspections, nitrogen for tires. They're open Monday through Friday, 7 to 7, and Saturday, 7 to 3, and they would just love to fill you up with nitrogen. Are you okay, buddy?
Do they put a little blue cap on your head then?
They do.
Okay.
It's actually lime green.
A lime green cap on your head when they fill you up with nitrogen. Got it.
Groninger Insurance Agencies located at Front and Duke Streets, Northumberland. They're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, and Friday, 9 to 4:30. They have a simple question. Even Than knows this question. He memorized it days ago.
What's the weather going to be today? No. Are you paying too much for your insurance?
Well, that's one way to ask it. Groninger gives you a free, no-obligation answer to that question. You get lots more information about your insurance. Second opinion at Groningerinsurance.com. And the Lenape Solar email in basket open. Lenape Solar, they invite you to be part of the solution and make sure that you're using high-efficiency HVAC at your home or business. Fujitsu heat pumps, a small unit outside, tiny unit inside, and just a little hole in the wall to connect ductless systems. And they'll do lighting audits for commercial establishments that pay for themselves within a year. No sooner do you write the check that the savings starts to exceed the size of the check to pay for the audit and the changes. And they also, of course, can help you go solar, help you harness the power of the sun for a brighter tomorrow. LenapeSolar.com is their main website. 20 years of experience in water quality protection and restoration. Our first guest on the show today has that. He has a resume that has highlighted by me a master's degree in environmental pollution control from Penn State University, has a bachelor's degree in environmental resource management as well from Penn State. So we welcome back a fellow Penn Stater to the line. He's Harry Campbell. He's the new, well, I call him new, but he's been there a couple of years now, Pennsylvania Executive Director of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Good morning, Harry. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, and good morning.
I really do appreciate it. I think this has been wonderful that we've had this relationship. We've been able to just keep this going. And once again, thank Kelly for arranging these interviews. She's really made sure that these topics are brought up. Well, we didn't exactly break the news last week, but we reported with everyone else up and down the East Coast that the Milestones report was out, and that, of course, it talked about the fact that there's lots more work to do, maybe a little progress, but some work had been completed. So tell us about the Milestones report, and you got to talk about the collaboration that took place with that too.
Sure. Well, the Milestones report is a 2-year assessment. The states actually go about establishing what they're going to do in terms of pollution reduction practices on the ground that are not only going to improve local water quality, remove pollutants from streams and surface water drinking sources, for instance, but also ultimately to the Chesapeake Bay. And the goal to that is we're trying to restore the Chesapeake Bay to ecological health, where it has returned back to its ecological condition in which it's meeting water quality standards, providing for a strong and robust economy, allowing for the watermen, the farmers of the bay, to once again have the vital and healthy soil, clean water, for them to pursue their happiness, their livelihood, and for other people as well, to fish and to swim. So unlike the past efforts, this time around, under the Chesapeake Bay requirements, the Chesapeake Bay Blueprint, as it's called, the states agreed to establish 2-year cycles of milestones, what they're going to do over a 2-year period of time. Our Milestones report that we worked on with a host of other folks, but through the Choose Clean Water Coalition, a national organization, looked at how well the states are doing at that job and whether or not they're on track to achieve a 2017 pivot point, a very important point in which they are supposed to be doing 60% of what we know needs to be done to restore the health and condition of the bay. At the end of the day, for Pennsylvania, it's a mixed bag. We did really well in some areas. For instance, wastewater treatment plants exceeded expectations, upgrading their treatment technologies and doing things to enhance the existing technologies exceeded expectations by our wastewater treatment plants. And that's great. And those investments are paying off in local water quality as well as to the Chesapeake Bay. Where we lagged behind a little bit in this 2-year snapshot was in dealing with agricultural pollution. We did not keep pace with the rate of putting things on the ground that help reduce pollution. We did not keep pace with our promises in the milestones. So those are the challenges, but those are also opportunities.
Harry, how are we going to keep pharmaceuticals out of the river?
That's a good question. Pharmaceuticals are used by not only you and me, but our pets, as well as the agricultural industry on farm animals and cattle and things of that nature. So in each case, there's different ways of dealing with it. Thankfully, a body of research as it pertains to humans is saying that when we upgrade our wastewater treatment plants for this very same technologies that reduce nutrients, phosphorus and nitrogen, we also have a better chance at removing the pharmaceuticals that get into our sewage treatment plants by what we primarily excrete, because we don't absorb and metabolize all the drugs that we take in or pharmaceuticals we take in. So that's a good thing. But we still have septic systems as a potential source, and putting them online where we can so that they're part of a wastewater treatment plant system, and also then really addressing this at an agricultural level where the federal government has had some influence there in terms of antibacterials, in particular the cosmetic use of antibacterials for simply fattening cattle or keeping them healthy even if they're not sick has been starting to be addressed as well. So there's a lot of things we can do. Not only in addition to that, we can also start using things that are more essentially benign, put less things in the waste stream. So when you think about pharmaceuticals, the other chemicals in there are care products, and those care products also carry chemicals that are problematic in the water as well.
What, Harry? I'm sorry, Mark. This is Than Mitchell across the desk. I just wanted to question, what are care products? What does that mean?
I'm sorry, yeah, personal care products. So, like, for instance, antiperspirants, cologne, shampoos, they all have little chemicals that are what are known as, and scientifically referred to as, endocrine disruptors. That's a fancy way of saying they can mess with your hormonal system. And they can do things just like pharmaceuticals do in the water. When they get in the water.
And is there any way that sewage treatment plants can remove some of these chemicals and pharmaceuticals from before the discharge?
Yeah, actually, as I referenced, and when we upgrade those, we see to remove nitrogen and phosphorus, the scientific literature is saying that they're actually addressing some of these very chemicals as well.
All right, fantastic. All right, another aspect of this is I saw a news release yesterday. The Chesapeake Bay Executive Council signed a new agreement committing to the cleanup of the bay, and the governor was in on this. So it's not too often we see an environmental group praising Governor Corbett, but he has been willing to sign these documents. So tell us about that aspect of our conversation.
Yeah, this is a next step in a long series of Bay agreements that started actually in the early 1980s, first signed by Governor Thornburgh. And this just continues that lineage of Pennsylvania committing to be participatory in a collaborative effort with the other major Bay states, as well as the federal government and Washington, D.C., to deal with this issue. And for us in Pennsylvania, it makes sense because it starts with our own rivers and streams in our backyard. Because once we improve those, to which we have 19,000 miles of Pennsylvania's rivers and streams that don't meet basic water quality standards, once we improve those, once we restore those, the Bay will respond in kind.
I would like to ask you about the history of this. How did it get so bad? Did we just start noticing this last year or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Or was it just because everything did look like an open sewer at one time and now we found out it's not such a great idea to flush everything into the Chesapeake? What is the history of our misuse of our streams and rivers?
Boy, that goes all the way back probably to the first colonialization, if you will, even maybe before that during the Native Americans. And any activity that humans have, you know, we go and we clear land, we do things, we use the land to support ourselves and our lifestyles and our economy and things of that nature. And every time we do anything, you know, we're going to affect the environment. We may not see it, and we may not be able to determine it, particularly to our naked eye. But scientifically, something is happening, something somewhere. And what happens is that when you do that over and over and over and over, decades, centuries, and it changes, industrialization occurs, coal mining, intensive agriculture, sprawl development, antiquated and unmaintained infrastructure that has raw sewage discharges, all of these little issues then cumulatively together from all the 64,000 square mile watershed, which is part of 6 states, including half of Pennsylvania, results in a system that is dangerously out of balance. And then when you couple that with all the resource extraction and everything else, like of oysters and things of that nature, what you have is the perfect storm. And then the bay simply collapses. And that's what happened. It collapsed. It was exhausted. It had too many insults occurring. And now we got to help it back up.
You know, the one thing I noticed, I was brought up on a farm in northern Pennsylvania near the north branch of the Susquehanna. I now live on the west branch, and it seems to me that we have done a pretty good job of cleaning up, except for the fact that we have 2 different societies, one farmers, the other watermen in the Chesapeake, both having to earn their living off the land or out of the water. And it seems to me that right now the farmers are having to catch up so that the watermen can earn a living. Am I somewhat close?
Well, I mean, that's one way to describe it, yeah. I mean, farmers of the land, and then we have in Pennsylvania, for instance, have a kinsmanship with farmers of the bay, the oystermen, the people who rely on crabs and fisheries. They're both essentially doing very similar work. But for the farmers of Pennsylvania, it's the soil health, and the nutrients therein. That's the important medium on which they grow everything. Whereas in the Bay, it's the quality of the water. And so there's a connectivity there, and there's a kinship there. And in fact, what we, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, have recognized is that there's a camaraderie there. And we actually have trips where we take farmers down to the Chesapeake Bay. They meet watermen, they go fishing, they talk about issues, they talk about all the things and challenges that they wrestle with. And we also do it in the other way, watermen coming up and talking to farmers in Pennsylvania, getting a sense of the challenges that our farmers face. And what are the opportunities that we can work collaboratively and integratively to address these issues amongst all of ourselves?
Okay, this is a most interesting discussion. I have to just put a personal note in. I was on about 10 miles of the river yesterday, part of the West Branch, part of the North Branch, in a smoker boat, which I'm sorry about. I hate polluting that way. But the Susquehanna River here around the Sunbury area and Lewisburg appears to me to be as pristine as I have ever seen it.
We have some of the best water quality up in the northern parts of the watershed, including the Susquehanna River. It is a gorgeous landscape. It's a gorgeous body of water, legendary, in fact. And that's why, beyond the scientific, beyond the political, beyond the financial and cultural aspects of this, there is a more fundamental, more exostemic, if you will, sort of part of this, that it's just a beautiful landscape. And that's actually one of the most important things about this, is that when we recognize that beauty, we take part in that beauty, that connectivity with nature, then hopefully at the end of the day we'll be more understanding of what our influence is on it, and then hopefully more willing to do something to reduce that influence. And in fact, we have 3 canoe trips coming up this summer, actually 2 where we are in this very month. 2 of them are down here. One is up a little bit more your way, and there's one in June 24th, if you will listen for a second, on the Yellow Breeches in Mechanicsburg, June 10th at the Swatara Creek in Hershey. But the one up your way for your listeners, August 2nd, we're actually canoeing the Susquehanna River, and we'll be paddling in at Port Trevorton.
At Port Trevorton to how far south?
We will be going, if you give me
North
just
Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah. You know, I don't actually have exactly where that will be, but it's the McKees Half Falls section, if folks are familiar with that. It's 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m.
I am on one of my favorite canoe trips across McKees Half Falls. People are going to really enjoy that.
3-hour trip.
Yeah, it's a really gorgeous piece of the river up there, and I hope folks will take the time to think about that. Go on our website, cbf.org. Go to our Discovery Trips in Pennsylvania, and you'll be able to find a link to how to sign up on that.
All right. Well, I certainly won't go on that. Last time I was on a 3-hour tour, I saw Gilligan's Island, so I know what happens when you take a 3-hour trip in a boat. So, but all right. Last word. We'll give you the last word and a final comment. Harry Campbell.
Well, you know, Pennsylvania has a rich history of an exquisite environment. And we have the second most amount of streams in miles than any other state except Alaska. Our streams and our rivers are part of our cultural heritage. They're part of our economy. They're part of our quality of life, and they make what Pennsylvania is so beautiful. And that's why it's so important for us to preserve and restore these precious bodies of water, not only for all the science in the Chesapeake Bay, that's all in the background. It's about our rivers and streams right in our own backyard, because those are the streams that are going to affect our health, our economies, and our quality of life.
All right, cbf.org, the main website. Harry Campbell, Executive Director of the Pennsylvania segment of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Thanks for checking in, sir. Good morning.
Good morning to you, and have a great day.
And keep up the good work, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You
Harry
too.
Campbell, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We'll take a quick 1-minute break, and we'll continue with WKOK's On the Mark in a moment. The Groninger Insurance toll-free line is open, 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar email in basket, populated with messages sent to On the Mark at WKOK.com. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Tony Knopp, the CEO of Spotlight Ticket Management, in to take a baseball bat to Kevin's Theories today, 3 to 5 News Radio, 1070 WKOK.
White River, carry me back home.
Welcome back to WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Just talked to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation's Pennsylvania Executive Director, Harry Campbell. Has his Bachelor's of Science and Master's degrees from Penn State University, the Susquehanna River. He's been over McKee's Half Falls, so he knows what it's like.
As I have It's amazing. Well, the river there it's probably not a mile wide and a couple of islands, but it's close to that. And there is I believe it's called a water gap. It's where the water finally ate through a ridge, and now the very top of that ridge is underwater, is what it amounts to. And the rocks stick up all the way across. And in low water, which is the Susquehanna often has low water, in low water you can't find a way through it with a canoe without actually knowing where to go. It's really just a bunch of rocks with water streaming around them.
Is it safe to go over McKee's Half Falls?
Oh yeah, it's not a full falls. It's a half falls. It's just it's probably a 6 to 8 inch, maybe a foot drop, and it's not all at once. It kind of takes feet. I've been over it for several years, but I'm sure that a lot of people do that because it is a beautiful area of the Susquehanna River, and you can be far away from routes 11 and 15 or come right over to the highway and you're going along with the big trucks.
It's a nice. I'm sorry, Mark. I was just going to say it's a nice picnic area too, right there along Route 11, 11 and 15, where their rest stop is their seasonal rest stop. I might add.
Yeah, it is seasonable. That means you can solve it. Yeah, it's closed in the winter, and for good reason. It's definitely a place to pull your car over and have a picnic, and that's it. Nobody's going to do that in the wintertime.
In case your car needs a brake.
That's if it needs a brake, make sure you go to the Sunbury Motor Company.
Get 4 brakes.
Yeah, get all 4 of them checked out. Interesting sort of a comment about the Chesapeake. I'm glad to know that we are in Pennsylvania doing some things right.
And I didn't realize, and we just had a conversation last week about pharmaceuticals, that they're not completely removed by standard sewage treatment plant, but with measures that reduce additional nitrogen and phosphorus, it does take more pharmaceuticals out. So that's going to be important because that's the pollution of our time. We don't dump factory waste right into the waterways anymore, but we, of course, flush more and more and more pharmaceuticals.
I hope we don't, although the accusations of the the Minuteman organization in Milton would say that maybe some people are still dumping factory waste into the river. I hope not. I hope they find that that's not true. And if anybody is, let's just hope they find them and stop it, because that is a true mess. I don't know what we do about the pollution in the river as individuals, except the obvious things. Don't throw junk in the river. And probably don't be watering your lawn with all of these chemicals. Let your lawn be natural. And if it's a little bit fuzzy, say, look, I want to save the environment, and my lawn is beautiful enough.
Is it technically a lawn if it's more weeds than grass?
We, up in the farmland, used to call it pasture at that point.
So that's what I have in my backyard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and, I think Kevin raises an interesting point. What if you decide that this monotonous mowing isn't something you want to do? My lovely bride have gotten rid of almost all of the grass on our property, but it's just a small tract, and the neighbor has a big yard. So what do you do? What's the option there?
Well, what you can't do is allow your yard to become a haven for varmints. Rats, mice, all kinds of animals can live in tall grass, which can be a problem if they get into your house and all that sort of thing. And certainly a problem if your neighbors are neat and tidy and your little mouses are running over into their yards all the time and your rabbits are eating their garden. So I think you kind of have to take care of the neighborhood, but I don't think you have to put harsh chemicals
what about
on the lawn.
Ferns and ivy?
Oh, those are just wonderful, I guess.
Instead of grass.
Yeah, I suspect that any kind of a culture on the yard, a cultivation, really is good for it.
I mean, what if gasoline were $962 a gallon? Would we still mow our lawns?
I think we'd like solar power a lot more at that rate.
We'd use solar-powered mowers.
Yes, I think we would. I just saw that there was one of the hybrid cars, and I'm not sure whether Ford Motor Company makes one of these, but they well may, that has a solar panel on the roof. So when you sit it in a parking lot, it takes no electricity to run its air conditioner. So it sits there with the air conditioner on all day long, run by solar power, and you get in the car in the afternoon, and at least it's breathable. And I think, that's what'll happen in the future.
Webcam is up and running thanks to Kevin Herr's brain, which is
he
very
has
big.
What?
It's very big. And he fixed the webcam. It looks better, sounds better, it is better, and it's inviting you to go to WKOK.com and check it out. Sunbury Motor Company sponsors the whole shebang today. SunburyMotors.com, GroningerInsurance.com, the sponsor of the toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar, the email at onthemark@WKOK.com. This is WKOK Sunbury.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki claims his government has regained the initiative against the Sunni militants who've been running roughshod in northern Iraq. But Exxon and other oil companies have begun evacuating workers. The Sunnis have reportedly kidnapped as many as 100 foreigners. And as CBS's Clarissa Ward tells us from Baghdad, they've laid siege to the country's biggest oil facility.
Islamic militants have been pounding that refinery in Beiji all morning with mortars. And if they do successfully take the entire facility, we could be looking at massive power outages, long lines for gas. This in a country that is already on the edge of chaos.
President Obama and congressional leaders will address the crisis at a meeting later today. Live to CBS News White House correspondent Peter Mayer.
And Frank, officials indicate the president will discuss options but no final decisions beyond again ruling out any troop combat role in Iraq. CBS News security analyst, former deputy CIA chief Michael Morrell sees a turning point.
We are at risk of losing Iraq.
A White House official says ultimately Iraqis must end the crisis themselves, and any U.S. military options, including airstrikes, would support that strategy.
The Libyan suspected of leading the deadly assault on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi is being held on a Navy ship in the Mediterranean. CBS's Bob Orr tells us interrogators are pumping Ahmed Abu Khattala for information on the attack and others that may be in the planning stages.
Once his intelligence interrogation is finished, then a whole new team of FBI experts will come in. They'll read him his rights, tell him the charges he faces, and then they will try to question him again. In that second round of questioning, of course, anything he says can be used in a trial against him.
A new study's adding to the confusion over the value of mammograms. CBS's Heather Bosch is live with the latest.
Previous research shows mammograms detect dangerous tumors and those that are not life-threatening, so sometimes women are put through unnecessary treatment. But Lars Vatn's new study in Norway found mammograms can reduce the chances of dying from breast cancer by nearly 30%. He concludes,
at this point in 2014, I think we still need to continue screening women.
But he says women should be told about the risks of unnecessary treatment.
You embrace
New York's Metropolitan Opera has canceled a scheduled worldwide broadcast of the death of Klinghoffer, based on the 1985 Achille Laurel hijacking in which a wheelchair-bound American Jew was thrown overboard. Ken Jacobson with the Anti-Defamation League and Klinghoffer's family said the opera was too sympathetic to the Palestinian killers.
They take the issue of a horrible act of terrorism, and there's a rationalization, a kind of moral equivalence.
A wildfire that's burned 10,000 acres of grass and brush near Selah, Washington, has stopped short of Nicole Hopper's home, but those flames still pose a threat, and she's keeping a bag packed.
At least we have everything packed and ready to go just in case.
S&P futures are up a point. This is CBS News.
Staples Copy and Print knows you need to promote your business.
Outdoor banners.
Detailing your one-of-a-kind product offering.
Trifold, full-color, double-sided brochures.
As you grow your business.
Business cards, postcards, car magnets.
And your customer base.
Design services, presentations, shipping.
So you go to the one place that has it all and prints it right.
Staples.
Right now, custom banners and posters start at just $6.49. Offer valid on pickup or delivery ends $6.29. Details in-store or online at staples.com/springcopy. Staples. Make more happen.
How to get an amazing deal on a great used car. Start with the most durable, longest-lasting brand in its class. Have it thoroughly inspected by a trained technician and reconditioned to meet Honda certified standards. And you've got yourself a certified pre-owned Honda. Find the one that's right for you at HondaCertified.com. Durability based on longevity. Longevity based on Polk U.S. Vehicles in Operation Registration Statistics 1988 through 2012 for Honda and competing brands.
Japan has finally passed a law that bans child pornography. CBS's Lucy Kraft has the story from Tokyo.
Japan is one of the last industrialized countries to punish owners of child pornography. Perpetrators now face up to a year in jail or fines of as much as $10,000. Police say child pornography cases have skyrocketed in recent years, with the popularity of smartphones making it easy for pedophiles to prey on children.
Pop star Tony Orlando has visited the families of 3 Israeli teenagers missing and presumed kidnapped in the West Bank. Orlando's asking his fans to hang yellow ribbons in a show of solidarity. A spokesman for the Sotheby's auction house in New York says a rare 1856 British Guiana postage stamp has changed hands for a pretty penny.
The stamp has just sold for approximately $9.5 million, which means that it set a new world record price.
But well short of the pre-auction estimate of as much as $20 million. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
Staples Copy and Print knows you need to promote your business.
Outdoor banners.
Detailing your one-of-a-kind product offering.
Trifold, full-color, double-sided brochures.
As you grow your business.
Business cards, postcards, car magnets.
And your customer base.
Design services, presentations, shipping.
So you go to the one place that has it all and prints it right.
Staples.
Right now, custom banners and posters start at just $6.49. Offer valid on pickup or delivery ends $6.29. Details in-store or online at staples.com/springcopy. Staples. Make more happen.
By 2025, it's estimated that half the world's population will lack access to safe drinking water. A sorry state of affairs, as 2/3 of our planet is covered by water. We are helping develop solutions for salt water to satisfy the thirst of future generations. BASF, the chemical company.
News Radio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Than Mitchell.
Greetings and welcome back to the WKOK Live telephone talk show. It is entitled On the Mark. For the first half of this hour, we have a guest in the studio. We'll be introducing her in great detail momentarily, but that's what's ahead. And then at 9:30 this morning, we'll have an open phones segment today. You can call in about anything you wish to discuss today. Got a couple of emails pending, so we'll discuss those. The webcam is up and running thanks to Kevin's genius. So we have a clear picture, well illuminated, perfect sound, perfect camera angle, and Kevin has got a new toy.
I have a problem. I spilled coffee on my shirt
You
this
can
morning.
see it.
And you can see it on the camera. Margaret, I am sorry. Margaret did not dress me this morning. I took care of messing up my own clothes.
What it looks like, Kevin, Than wore a white shirt today, but it's covered with all these dark splotches.
Yeah,
and
it was a
coffee.
messy trip up here, I'll tell you.
That is coffee. So he got into a fight with a barista on the way in here today, and that's the outcome. And you can see all that on the web. And we invite you to join the 7 billion people globally who are now able to check out the coffee stains on Than's shirt.
It's one of the drawbacks of high definition.
Hey, Kevin, speaking of drawbacks, would you draw back, please?
Yeah, he zoomed in on the
I'm
shirt.
embarrassed enough by
Are
coffee
they
stains.
boats or flowers?
They're leaves.
Okay. You
right
can't
here,
quite
it's a
tell.
leaf. Yeah,
Leaves
it's a
of
leaf.
grass.
And then there's coffee stain and oh my.
Hang on, I think I see the coffee stain now. There you go.
I think you got it. Yeah, thanks a lot, Kevin. I owe you now.
This is Ralph Waldo Emerson shirt, the Leaves of Grass shirt. So.
Leaves of coffee, yes.
That's it. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. If you'd like to protest, send us a note at onthemark@WKOK.com. You can contact them at lenapesolar.com. Find out about their 3 foci, which is ultra-efficient ductless HVAC, audits for commercial businesses, or going solar, lenapesolar.com. On the Mark brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf. Find out tons more about them at sunburymotors.com. They invite you to visit the Quick Lane. That's where they specialize in everything. Not much of a specialization, really.
It would seem not. Yeah, if you're Superman, you can't have more superpowers, and it sounds like Sunbury Motor Company is kind of Superman in the business.
Oh, that's right. This was written by the same salesperson who said there are umbrella sponsors. So,
Yes.
and I thought, oh, good, we need those. It's very sunny outside. That'll come in handy. SunburyMotors.com. And the Groninger Insurance toll-free line is open. You simply dial 1-800-795-9565. We put you on the radio. Groninger Insurance has several foci, not the least of which is saving you money on insurance and making sure that your insurance needs are met and that your expectations are exceeded, and they can help get that process started at Groningerinsurance.com. Some brief news headlines here today. Emergency crews went back to a former school in Mount Carmel today. The St. Mary's Roman Catholic School at the corner of Marion Heights Highway and Melrose Street caught fire last evening, then rekindled today. No injuries reported at that vacant school in Mount Carmel. The governor says there will be no tax increase in Pennsylvania if he has his way. He said yesterday, first the legislature has to cut the budget, especially pension costs, get those under control. Corbett held a news conference yesterday. He's been mum on the idea of a severance tax for raising tobacco taxes in Pennsylvania and said yesterday, that would be the last way to balance the budget. The best way would be to cut expenses, especially pension expenses. He sent it back to the legislature and says, please do your stuff. Kevin is always glad to hear that tolls on the Pennsylvania Turnpike are going up. Kevin uses the Turnpike about 6 times a year, and it will cost him on average about $6 more annually to use the Turnpike. 5% increase in the tolls. This time they're sticking it to the Easy Pass people.
And that's what I was just going to ask.
And both the Easy Pass people and the regular folks. Easy Pass is actually 3/4 of the traffic now on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and everybody's going to see their tolls go up about 5%. So they're not. They figure they've probably reached the nirvana as far as.
Is that a tax? I would think it is.
No, it's a toll.
It's a toll.
I would consider it that.
Okay, so it depends on what you call it. Whether when they take money from you, it depends on what you call it.
Well, you can avoid the Turnpike if you want to.
That's true. You can
Go
avoid
there
living
now.
in Pennsylvania.
It's not a piece of cake right now. All of southeast Pennsylvania on the Google traffic map shows it as red, meaning construction with slowdowns. So.
You know, and that's not good news for those of us visiting Ocean City, New Jersey, Wildwood, and Cape May over the next couple of weeks on the Turnpike. That takes effect January 1st, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can still get in a little cheaper right now.
Right.
And save your money for next summer.
You pay more next year. And finally, if you stand in front of someone, look them in the eye, and threaten to punch them, you could find yourself in trouble for making terroristic threats. But what if you make that threat on Facebook? It's a question the highest court in the United States will soon be considering. The justices have said they'll take up a case in which a Pennsylvania man has been sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for posting numerous violent online online rants against his estranged wife. Anthony Alonis claimed his comments are protected by the First Amendment, but the judge argued in the case that he's not just going to jail for the threats, he's going there for repeatedly attempting to intimidate his ex-wife. He posted the comments as rap lyrics, he says, but the previous courts have said that they are clear and dangerous threats and that verbal contact is the same as physical contact when it comes to escalating conflict.
Boy, that's a difficult one, because that's one of those places where everybody says, how come before that guy went berserk and did something really awful, nobody noticed it? Maybe somebody's noticing it, and now it's kind of infringing on his free speech. But that's a whole nother topic.
With that, we introduce our guest. No direct connection, but I bet there's certainly a through line through this when you really talk about women, and yes, all women, which we've been trying to address. Ann Keeler Evans said you have to talk about talk to Terry Peterson. We can talk about her.
We'll wait till she leaves.
Great photographer, great writer, addresser of women's issue, great blogger. So what else can we say about her?
Well, a music lover. That I can say.
Thank you very much.
Graduate of Wellesley College and Gonzaga University, only Gonzaga graduate I think I've ever spoken to, so welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And do appreciate you coming in. And really a writer, blogging, beyondpaisley.net is your blog, and really you just address 1,000 things on there, things that are happening on the rail trail, cooking topics, fantastic sunsets, life in these central Pennsylvania, so you cover a wide range of topics, very top of the mind blog, and we're glad that you came in today. But you do address women's issues from time to time, and we talked about the hashtag YesAllWomen a couple of shows ago as sort of our primary focus today. Now that's my introduction to Terry Peterson. Can you tell me a little bit more about this Lewisburg writer that's Terry?
Well, you pretty much covered a lot of my bio right there, haven't you? I moved here 10 years ago. I thought I would be here 6 months.
What did you move here to do? Blog?
Actually, I moved here because I wanted to get closer to my family again. They're all East Coast, and I was living in Central Texas. And my parents weren't getting any healthier or younger, and I wanted to be closer to them. So I thought that I would come here. My sister lives here, and I thought that I would come here, but sort of be gone in 6 months and somewhere else East Coast, like Boston, somewhere that's a city. And I ended up loving it.
It is a beautiful valley, and it's easy to stay here. What do you find here in the valley, since women's issues are what we're talking about? What do you find on women's issues here? I think we're kind of backwards, but I'm not sure.
Well, I think I could argue that anywhere that you go is a little bit backwards. I don't think that this area is any worse than anywhere else that I've been for a lot of ways. Like, there are a lot of women who hold leadership positions in this area, Anne being one. There's a female mayor in Lewisburg. There's a lot of women who
female county commissioner in Snyder County.
Female county commissioner in Snyder County. Like, there's a lot of women who are in charge of the campus directors, but it's still there's sort of like there reaches a point, if you look at who's actually in terms of business in the area, like, it's still largely male dominated.
Well, we just mentioned a female mayor and a female commissioner, not mentioning hundreds of males in those offices.
They're standouts.
And I think that the world is made up about 50% of women.
Yeah,
it would seem even if we were equal mentally, and I'm afraid I think you're ahead of us, you should be in half of the leadership positions.
Theoretically, sure. Yeah, that would be nice. And that's part of the problem is that when things like Yes All Women start to come into focus, women. There's a lot of times there's a systemic just recognition that women aren't going to be elevated to the same positions, and people recognize that, and they sort of accept it in a way that that isn't cool. It's not healthy. It's not awesome. It's not life-giving. It's not affirming.
You mean the women should do something different? I would think the men should.
I think it's. I mean, women do need to, start to rise up and be more secure in their own sense of personal space and personal ability. I mean, there's a sort of a meme that's making its way around the internet now called mansplaining. And have you seen this at all?
No, I've seen one or two of them, but I didn't realize it was a trend.
Oh no, it's a trend. And what mansplaining is like somebody who's incredibly well versed in their field, like someone who's getting their doctorate in nuclear physics will say, I did this really fascinating experiment, let me tell you about it. And a man in her field, or maybe not even in her field, will go, oh, let me explain it to you better. Like,
so there is still that.
Oh God, it's everywhere.
Is that why there's a thing called hashtag Yes All Women?
Well, hashtag Yes All Women addresses mansplaining. It addresses violations of personal space. It addresses just the sort of like day-to-day things that women endure that are, again, like sort of quietly accepted, and we don't like it. Like you as a man, have you ever like gotten on the rail trail and hoped that you didn't encounter a stranger who was going to assault you?
No, of course not.
Right.
But you, as a female,
right,
always have that in mind.
I carry a whistle on my keychain so that I can, if I get into trouble.
And that's something we do not, men usually at least, do not have to worry about. We can be beaten up and robbed, but that's a different thing from being raped, I am sure.
Or even, I mean, or violated in other ways. I mean, I spent a lot of time reading a lot of the Yes All Women hashtags, and this one woman had talked about having to put on an extra layer of clothing under a dress because she was going out and she didn't want people to violate her, basically, like walking through a bar, walking down the street, like people, And
this is a local topic.
Well, it's a global topic, actually. I mean, it happens everywhere. It happens in Lewisburg, of course, but it happens all over, the country, all over the world,
Is it possible that men don't really understand what women put up with on the rail trail, the streets of Lewisburg, or wherever they may be?
I mean, maybe, but I really don't know how well we've taught them. I don't, like, there's this whole idea that goes along with it that, a woman was wearing a short dress, a woman was, walking alone, she was asking for it, and it's like, I was just walking down the street.
Yes, yeah.
Is your impulse control that bad? Like, did you never learn accountability? Did you never learn how to, I mean, do you steal candy from a store because you want it? Like, no, you stop doing that when you're 9.
But, if you steal candy from the store when you're 9, you get your hand slapped.
Right.
So what you're saying is perhaps more women should slap more men's hands at some point.
Maybe they should, and maybe the sort of the sort of common, again, another thing that's part of the discussion that goes around with this is when women are taught how to protect themselves, which is fine. Women should be taught everybody should be taught how to protect themselves. But there's not a common, a corollary teaching tactic that says that men should be taught not to assault people.
Oddly.
And it really, it relates, it's a real example of a blame the victim, fault the victim, and there's case after case after case of girls who are assaulted in various ways. There was that Steuben case that happened, what was it, a year or two ago in New York, where there was a 14-year-old girl at a party, and they videotaped the people assaulting her, and it became her fault and her family. I think her family had to move. Like,
I believe so. Yeah, it was a very sad affair, and the victim was blamed.
The victim was blamed and absolutely shamed in all sorts of, incredibly hideous ways. For really like being brave enough to step forward and say, this happened to me and it's not okay, and this has gone around my school and it's not okay.
Well, we talked to Robin Sherrill a while ago, a woman who you're familiar with, who is the rector at the Episcopal Church in Sunbury, and said, our lessons teach women to be careful when you're in a social setting, to keep your eye on your drink, rather than teaching men respect and don't put date drugs in women's drinks.
Right. Yeah. Let's start with that. Yeah. And yeah. I mean, it's sort of like it's a backwards way to approach the problem, but you know.
I was brought up by a family where we didn't make a designation between men and women. It was a farm family. My mother went out and milked cows, and my father knew how to sweep the floor. But I still make gaffes all the time. I find myself saying things that are rude and don't mean to be. But if somebody really wants to take me to task, they can. They should, is what you're saying.
Well, you know, I mean, I think that there are ways to take people to task, and there are ways to take people to task.
That's true.
You know? Like,
Please don't hit me.
Right. Well, that's, you know, I mean, and I also, like, I see that a lot of the sort of conflict that comes with, you know, people, you know, not getting behind this idea of women, you know, yes, all women, is that they think that women are gonna, you know, become harpies, you know, hit them. They only want power, and there are ways to say, like, this isn't okay, and then there are ways to just completely alienate anybody who might possibly be an ally if you could just talk to them for a little bit and maybe get them to come to your side.
Two of the things that seem to be a major problem would be perhaps alcohol. And that might be true in colleges, and people are not taught how to control alcohol. And I'm not blaming either side; both get crazy. And also perhaps relationships where men kind of think they've bought their wives and now they can use them the way they wish to. I find way too much of that in our modern society. Hey, my old lady won't let me go. That's just, you know, that just says something very deep about somebody and their relationship.
Well, I remember at one point, you know, like with relationships, my relationships, I've tried to construct them so that they're pretty 50-50, especially the one I'm in now, you know, George.
I do know George, and he hardly ever has a bruise. I know.
Not that I've caused, anyway.
No.
But, you know, I mean, that's sort of, it's been something that I've tried to, you know, make as a general aspect of my relationships, is that they're relatively equal. You know, there's some give, some take, but whatever. And I remember I was working with this company, and I had gotten sent away for, like, we were opening a new store. So I was out of town. I was, you know, for 3 or 4 days, whatever it was, and one of the girls that I was helping open the store with, see, it was a girl, it wasn't a woman. See, it's systemic.
I do that too, and it bothers me when I do.
But so one of the young women that I was working with said to me, well, I was married at the time, and she said, wait, you're married? And I said, of course, yeah, sure. And she said, your husband let you go?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is work. I mean, I'm not like. This is work. It's fine. He can live without me for 3 or 4 days, you know. But she was bewildered by the. So it's not just that men think that women should, you know, once they're married or in a relationship, stay home. It's that women think that's where they belong as well. I'm not here to challenge every aspect of, you know, female domesticity. What I'm saying is it's everybody's choice.
Well, plus it relates to respect, which is really what this seems that we seem to get down to that, no matter how whether we're talking about faiths or treatment or Stop Street Harassment. We interviewed Holly Curl from Stop Street Harassment, and she said really that's what it boils down to. If that was your mother walking down the street, would you say that to her or your sister? She also talked about some cards that women were giving out that is the size of a business card, and on the picture or on it there's some sort of a pictogram, but then it said, you know, is this any way that your mother would like you to respect women, or is this are you being as respectful, you know, things like this the cards would say. So a non-confrontational way to say, you know, the street harassment isn't appreciated. Well, we have to take a quick break, but we open up the phone lines. We would just love to hear from folks if you want to weigh in on this. We're talking about the fact that on the subject of women's issues, and specifically Yes All Women. We got some distance to go around here, and the whole planet does. It ain't just us. And there was a hashtag that came out that said "Not All Men," which sort of irritated the Yes All Women folks, because really, it's true, not all men are abusers, but certainly yes, all women can face abuse anytime, and that's just the way almost every society still is set up around here. So we're talking about that. We invite you to weigh in. Anything to add to our conversation? If you feel put upon by this, call in and tell us why, and we'll see if we can answer the concern you're feeling. 1-800-795-9565 is the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. 1-800-795-9565. You can contact via the email Lenape Solar email in basket. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
If you're a fix-it-yourself kind of person, or a fix-other-people's-appliances person, the only name you need to know is APW. APW carries all kinds of parts, from small to large, for every name and type of appliance. If it's not in stock, Jerry will gladly order it for you. Don't you wish the rest of your life was as simple? APW in the Peters Appliance Building, Market Street in Sunbury. Fixing it for yourself or fixing it for other people, you're always covered with parts from APW.
This is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know we use exclusive manufacturing partners? Our solar modules are made with American components in an American factory by an American company in Milwaukee. Our lighting fixtures are made less than 3 hours away in Philadelphia. Even our fluorescent lamps are made here in the U.S., as are our solar racking systems. We're dedicated not just to quality, but our local economy. Find out more by calling 286-1496, online at lenapesolar.com, or drop by our showroom at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury, and see these products in person.
Here are some sobering statistics from a national insurance company. 82% of teens use cell phones while driving. 48% of girls are likely to speed 10 miles per hour over the limit versus boys 36%. And 76% of teens say they feel unsafe while another teen drives. Let's empower teens to promote smart driving. Tell them to take action if someone's been drinking, is speeding, or using their phone.
This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including News Radio 1070 WKOK and Sealands Grove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
News and interviews from your community every morning on WKOK Sunrise.
Just learning some different things to eat before and after exercise, kind of boost your energy level.
I like just getting out there and running. I just really like running.
So a person who has a disability is in a wheelchair. We have a good number of people that we are getting to work every day.
News, sports, AccuWeather, and more every morning on WKOK Sunrise on News Radio 1070 WKOK and WKOK.com.
Welcome back to the KOK Live Telephone Talk Show. We would love to hear from you today. We're really talking about the hashtag Yes All Women. We're continuing that. We're so fortunate to have heard about, then met and befriended on Facebook and followed, stalked on LinkedIn and read her.
Do you have a settle down with the stalking jokes.
Do you have a LinkedIn?
I do.
You do? Okay, I thought I read that. BeyondPaisley.net is the main blog that Terry Peterson uses. She's from Lewisburg, is a professional writer, and really following that to passion. Is that a hobby of yours? You're making a living doing that? How does that, assuming for a moment it's any of my business, tell us about your writing career a little bit.
Well, I've always liked to write. I've always been a writer. Like it's something I would come back to again and again and again and again. And I sort of had a string of jobs that, were fine for bringing in money, but they didn't actually fulfill me. You know,
and writing does.
And writing does. And I sort of realized at one point that I was doing everything except the one thing that I wanted to do. So I quit my job and started writing. And that was.
And here we are.
And that was 3 years ago. And I'm
a couple of topics to discuss while we still have you here. Dan mentioned that alcohol becomes a factor in some of the harassment that may take out, not just in bars, but in our society and in our homes.
And in colleges, I think,
right,
which may be one of the worst places.
Well, it is a problem in colleges, but it's a problem everywhere. And, you know, I was a non-traditionally aged student when I went to college, so I had a little bit of a different college experience in that regard. And also my campus, like, there wasn't a lot of bars in the town that I was in, so we had to travel.
So it was accidentally dry.
So, yeah, kind of. It wasn't quite you know, the crazy party school that other places get the reputation for. And you know, it is a problem now. Recently, George Will wrote an article about there was a woman who had claimed that she had been raped on campus, and it's like the weakest possible. It is the weakest possible claim that I've read. Like she sort of let him. She never said no. She didn't necessarily want to have sex, but you know, like there's a difference between rape and bad idea sex. Like and that's, you know, so she woke up the next morning, she regretted it, and then she started making claims, and that's a problem. But it's sort of on the same level of, you know, there's this one woman, you know, that he managed to find in these.
Oh, so George Will used her as a template for all women, or all rape. Right,
as to why, you know, alcohol, college campus.
He disappoints me every day.
Every single time.
Every day.
So that's sort of making the rounds right now, and the thing is, like, you know, what people need to recognize is alcohol, like, it is a problem on college campuses. People are making bad decisions. They're young when they get there. It's the first time that they're crazy, that they're able to sort of like get crazy without mom and dad looming right over their shoulders. So it is a problem, you know, and you know, just because you're in a theoretically protected environment like a college, which does assume a parental role in a lot of ways, you know, you still need to take care of yourself.
Does a college give any, and I'm sure they must, any time explaining to students their responsibility when they drink, their responsibility when they're in a co-ed dorm, their responsibility as human beings? Because it's possible parents haven't done that.
Well, that is possible, and I think it depends on the college. There are a lot of schools who do take it very seriously. I mean, Wellesley it's where I went to college, and it's a single-sex education. But we still had, you know, a huge during orientation. We had a huge section on, you know, sexual harassment, you know, permissible, you know, how you should view what is permissible.
Does it help?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was wondering
again,
too.
I was a little bit older when I went, so I sort of had a lot of this stuff already in my head.
So where I'm going is, what the heck do we do to change this?
Yeah.
Terry, you've got some ideas, I know, and I know there's not one idea. There must be many, but
we're going to get to those in a moment. We do have a caller on the line. Cindy, thanks for checking in. You are on the mark.
Good morning. I'm kind of confused about a comment earlier about how many women are elected officials, and if we are 50% of the population, we should be 50% of the elected officials.
Yeah, I did say that.
I'm represented by a woman. I will not be voting for her in the next election because I believe in term limits and I believe in term limiting my legislators. And the person I intend to write in, because no one ran against her, is a man. I don't think that I should retain her just because she's a woman.
Oh, heavens, no. I don't think I implied that at all. Terry, I think you'd agree with that.
No. You should vote for who you feel you should vote for. Like, and you know, I applaud your idea about term limits too. I'm with you.
You know, I talked a couple weeks ago about a study that came out, and I looked it up. It's called Girls Don't Want to Run. And the reason, when women run for elected office, they have They get elected at the same rate that men do. But women don't often run for office. And that's the issue, that women aren't putting themselves up as candidates. Not that societally we're against women in lead. I'm sure there are some people with that kind of thinking, but I don't believe that's the prevalent thinking in society today. But I hope we're not saying that we should assign a certain level and have to reach that because of any particular group in elected office. It should be the person freely selected by the voters.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
I was kind of commenting that it's not that we should vote for a woman just because she's running. It's that women should be given that direction from the very time that they are young, that they have an equal chance of being a president of the United States, to make it silly. Absolutely, they should be given that chance, and perhaps we're not giving them that.
Well, and that's, I mean, that's another question. Like this, Cindy brought. I want to check out this. I want to check out this Girls Don't Want to Run page that she was talking about. But in terms of why they want to run, I mean, the question becomes why. I mean, if they're running, if women, when they do put their hats in the ring, are being elected at equal rates, what turns them off? Now, I mean, for example, love Hillary Clinton, hate Hillary Clinton. When Chelsea was announced her pregnancy, one of the headlines that came out was, is Hillary going to run now that she's going to be a grandmother? And that affected Mitt Romney. How? He's got a litter of grandchildren.
Well, and the whole thing about her being pregnant, did Chelsea get pregnant to help her mother be president? Good grief, Fox News. What kind of a thing are you saying?
We have to take a quick break here. We're going to return. Fascinating conversation. Yes, all women, not all men. We got to talk more about the impact of alcohol and really what is violence in our society that continues against and about and once in a while by women. So we have to talk about that when we return. 1-800-795-9565 is our telephone number. We invite you to call in. We're talking about women's issues this morning. Yes, all women. Terry Peterson is here. Fascinating interview, and I hope we continue with more when we come back, and we'd love your 2 cents on this topic. 1-800-795-9565. Email onthemarket@KOK.com.
For more than 3 years now, Radio PA and PAMatters.com have brought you exclusive monthly conversations with Governor Tom Corbett. It's your chance to have the Governor of Pennsylvania answer your questions and comments on the issues affecting you.
The state has had a very difficult time as a legislature to come up with the resolve to deal with this head on. I said when I ran the first time, I'm going to make the tough decisions, and that's what people want you to make.
Let us answer your question on our next Ask the Governor program. Go to PAMatters.com today and click on the Ask the Governor link at the top of the page.
Important pieces of legislation that play into the budget, not the least of which is the pension issue.
PAMatters.com is also home to exclusive video clips from Ask the Governor, a show honored as Best Public Affairs and Best Talk Show by the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters and the PA Associated Press Broadcasters Association.
I'm Governor Tom Corbett. Please join me on Radio PA and PAMatters.com for a discussion on the issues facing our Commonwealth. Submit your questions or comment today.
Ask the Governor on PAMatters.com.
Be sure not to fizzle when the summer starts to sizzle. Kohl's Hardware has red-hot savings on what keeps you cool, all in one convenience store.
Beat the heat with a West Point air conditioner from your neighborhood Kohl's Hardware. Kohl's has a large selection of window and portable air conditioning units ready to cool down your summer. An air conditioner from Kohl's will save the day and get you a cool night's sleep.
Going for a dip in the pool? Kohl's Hardware makes cooling off easy and convenient with a large variety of quality HTH and Qualcomm swimming pool products. Kohl's Hardware has the brands you know and the people you trust.
And now at Kohl's Hardware, save up to $20 on Knoebels all-day ride passes. The more you buy, the more you save when you shop at Kohl's Hardware this summer. See store for details.
Check out the sale prices in our new circular at KohlsHardware.com and sign up for exclusive online offers year-round. We're right around the corner, right here in your hometown. Come on home to Kohl's for sizzling summer fun.
Come on home to Kohl's. Come on home to Kohl's. Kohl's Hardware. Come on home to Kohl's.
Want to do lunch? Fast food again? Nope, better. Chestnut Street Deli. Fresh made soup, sandwiches piled high, and made with all the fixings you want. You want to be a good boy? Their salads are amazing, and they serve breakfast all day. Food is served fast, but it's better than fast food. I drive, you buy.
From fresh, mouth-watering wraps, loaded deli sandwiches, homemade soups, and more, lunch is served at Chestnut Street Deli, 550 Chestnut Street, Sunbury. They cater to you. Call 988-2230. Like them on Facebook.
Tony Knott, the CEO of Spotlight Ticket Management, in to take a baseball bat to Kevin's Theories today, 3 to 5 News Radio, 1070 WKOK.
Welcome back. WKOK Live Telephone Talk
What is
Show.
that music?
It is on the mark.
Shakedown Street.
Yes. It's from Grateful Dead. Yeah, okay. Where's my brain?
I was trying to come up with it.
Thank
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I've only heard it 900.
Thank you, Terry. I told her she was a music lover.
Yes. So we are talking to Than Mitchell. He's across the table from us. He is the teacher from Turtleville, the wisdom of Winfield, the windbag of Winfield.
Windbag of Winfield is
One of
actually
our,
the originator.
listeners, so named him not so long ago. Dave, who hates everything, who loves our conversation about Yes, All Women. We know that to be true, so we're glad that he's supportive of this conversation today. Than Mitchell is here. Kevin Hur, the greatest engineer in the universe, award-winning, just brought a plaque home from the Pennsylvania Associated Press Broadcasters Association for sports play-by-play. We use him because he's the best engineer. He's also the best camera operator we have, and he put up better lights, changed the camera angle, made the sound better, and makes the picture clear, and then he stained Than's shirt. So that all of this is in plain sight now for anybody who wishes to watch it.
Kevin.
And we thank the 6 billion people who are currently not tuned in, but could at any moment.
Could at any moment.
So
Absolutely.
I'm Mark Lawrence, host of the show, below-average host and a below-average number of questions today, but just fascinated by the conversation that's happening here today. And Terry Peterson is here. She's from Lewisburg, is a writer, following her passion beyond. Paisley.net is her blog. And if you go there, don't look for the yes hashtag all women and the fact that you're going to dig deep into feminist issues. That's not the point. You can hear everything on that, or read everything there about cooking, fabulous recipes, rural heritage of our area, hamming it up in the summer. Is that the right blog? You're on a couple different ones. And really, the rail trail.
The rail trail.
Right. And this has been going on for years, and she's got a great archive there, so check it out. Terry Peterson is here, writer. And thanks for coming in. I really do appreciate it. What is Yes All Women, the hashtag? Explain what that is and compare it to Not All Men, which is a separate Twitter handle.
Okay, well, after the recent shootings out in California where that college student, and the name of the town is escaping me right now, but where that one student had decided to target a bunch of sorority women because he felt that they weren't sexually receptive towards him. He'd never been kissed. And he was angry, and so he blamed all women and then went on a killing spree. So this sparked in women, this desire to sort of speak about what a lot of people, I cannot claim to speak for every woman, but what a lot of us feel is a systemic problem about the way that women are viewed and what men expect from them, and how it's an issue to walk safely down the street. You can't go to college without worrying about being stalked or shot. And then so yes, Dan.
Well, my question, I guess, is so simply a basic: how can we teach men what you feel, and how can women understand what men go through? Because there is a kind of a schism there. Well, I understand because I've heard so much about it. There's no way I can do more than empathize with you.
Well, you understand because you've heard so much about it. But the part is you've engaged in dialogue. You've participated in a dialogue which, as allowed you to start to see and experience. Like you can't know what it's like to be a woman, but you can hear things and develop empathy and feel them. I can't know what it's like to be a man, but I can develop empathy, but it comes from familiarity and dialogue.
Not sympathy, but empathy.
Empathy.
Well, sympathy for men, it kind of makes sense.
And not all men.
And not all men. the more well-intentioned, there are some sort of not. Some people react angrily, so I actually kind of don't count them. But not all men. Usually something that generally. I mean, I have a friend who I had this kind of argument with. It was he had said I said something about yes all women, and he said not all men. And this man is thoughtful and intelligent and gentle and loving, and he's a wonderful father and a great husband, and I'm so proud to call this man a friend of mine. But he so he started to do well, not all men. And first off, you actually don't get to make this about me making sure your feelings aren't hurt.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, it's a larger issue than whether or not, this particular friend of mine was feeling like I had said to him that he had to defend.
You
himself.
were accusing him of a possibility of being an abuser,
right? And
just because of his gender,
right? And I wasn't. I was trying to make a larger social statement.
That was his fault.
It was his fault.
That was his fault to interpret it that way as a friend.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, women understand that not all men do this, but men need to start to take into consideration that all women feel this way. For all women, there is a threat of walking outside. I just found out, I know somebody whose mother's best friend has a daughter who was kidnapped and they think sold into sexual slavery. I know this person. This is
real.
This is real.
Yeah, this isn't down on some border. This
right,
is
and it's not some story that's sort of whispered about.
One of our listeners, second smartest woman in the world, sends us a note, says, women who succeed in navigating the promotion ladder in the corporate world or the academic world are often able to do so because they act like men. For example, let's say a professor who's an upper middle class white woman gets promoted to the top academic post at a university because she kisses up to the powerful men and beats down less powerful women. Is that good or bad for women in general?
That's a tough one.
Well, I think kissing up and beating down are generally bad practices anyway.
For anybody.
For anyone. And that's a common complaint that I've heard is that, in order to be promoted in the business world or in academics, you need to act like a man. And when you do, can I say the B word? I don't know. you get called,
you get called the B word.
Right, you get called the B word. And it
bossy is the word.
Bossy.
Yeah.
5 letters. So you become like this sort of hard, cold person, and I don't. If that's what it means to be a man, I mean, again, let's talk about having empathy. I don't necessarily know that these are traits that you want to emulate, so that's a tough question. It's a tough question.
The second part of the email, Terry, is many women of the second wave feminism generation feel that they need to be more like men to succeed. They seem to have a chip on their shoulder and think that they succeeded in a man's world, and the younger women should have to endure the same sexism and abuse that they endured in the 70s and 80s. So kind of blaming older women for teaching younger women, look, I went through this, now you're going to have to go through this. That doesn't seem like a good idea to me.
I felt like that about algebra, but I don't feel like that about women.
Good.
Good. 1-800-795-9565. Last break of the day. Terry Peterson is here, author, BeyondPaisley.net, the busiest blog, and you can link to her other ways to read her writings from there. Terry Peterson of Lewisburg with us. Yes, all women, part of our conversation about women's issues in general being brought up today. And I'm going to ask about recipes too coming up, because that's one of your favorite blog topics. What are they? Adventurous recipes? Is there sort of a way for me to summarize that? Or?
Well, my boyfriend's a vegetarian, so I'm always trying to figure out new ways to cook interesting vegetarian meals.
All right. Well, sounds great. We'll continue with that when we come back. Cooking tips, as we try to get away from in the post-feminine era. We brought in a woman to talk about
cooking.
Okay.
Yeah, good idea.
We'll be right back on the Mark.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Here's something to think about. How do you know if your insurance is the right price? Have you ever had your insurance reviewed? Do you remember when it was reviewed? And are you getting all the discounts you deserve? Let Groninger Insurance Agency give you a free, no-obligation second opinion on your auto, home, or business insurance. Give the Groninger Insurance Agency a call today at 570-473-8107. They're proud to represent the Erie Insurance Group. It's true, if you're not insured by Groninger Insurance, you're probably paying too much.
If you're a fix-it-yourself kind of person or a fix other people's appliances person, the only name you need to know is APW. APW carries all kinds of parts, from small to large, for every name and type of appliance. If it's not in stock, Jerry will gladly order it for you. Don't you wish the rest of your life was as simple? APW in the Peters Appliance Building, Market Street in Sunbury. Fixing it for yourself or fixing it for other people, you're always covered with parts from APW.
For most of us, our homes are our biggest asset. So whether you're buying or selling, work with the best. Hi, this is Larry Johnson from the Bowen Agency Realtors, and we have all the tools to make your home buying or selling process easy and stress-free. BowenAgency.com offers the Valley's easiest to use search feature and the area's first true mobile site. And our team of agents are the best trained and most knowledgeable in the area. Visit us online at BowenAgency.com or stop into one of our offices in Selinsgrove, Lewisburg, or Sunbury. Coming or going, trust the talent at Bowen. Online at BowenAgency.com.
Welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Terry Peterson's in our studio. We're very glad that she is here. Speedy dialers can get through 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565 is the open line on the market at WKOK.com.
You can put it on your speed dial. On the mark at WKOK.com is the email.
Which you have never done, but you probably could. Yes, all women is their general heading. We invited Terry to come in here and talk to us about this. One of the men in our audience sends us a note, says, whine and complain about men these days.
Actually, you have to start up at subject.
Oh, yes, all women. Yes, all women. Whine and complain. Yes, all women whine and complain about men these days. They think they should be given raises and promotions just because they're women. If someone compliments them, they say they're being sexually harassed. My mother never complained when she was home cooking and cleaning and raising 4 kids while my dad worked 6 days a week for 40 years to pay the bills. Okay. You know, I'm not sure if this is an archetype email where, you know, we have some people that send in emails just to represent the other side of the view, or it really feels that way. But, you know, what's your reaction to that? I mean, what's your reaction?
Well, you know, the first question or the first thing that stuck out to me was the statement that, you know, women think that they should get raises and promotions. Maybe you would have some kind of ground to stand on that women are being unfair and whining if there wasn't a pay disparity already. If you could even out the pay disparity, you know, which is, what is it, 77 cents for every dollar that a man makes. If you could even out the pay disparity, then maybe, you know, wanting to get
If you didn't have a legitimate complaint.
Then you would have a legitimate complaint, about women saying that they wanted more.
Yeah, but women get pregnant, and so they can't go to work, and they have the cycle every month, and they can't make it. So that's the reason they don't get paid as much, Terry.
No, I actually don't quite think that's true.
You don't think that's true? Good.
I mean, I know that women are the ones who get pregnant and
well,
have a
that's
cycle.
true. I knew you weren't arguing that point.
So there's that, and then this writer went on to say that they had that his family had been a traditional family, the sort of dad went to work, mom raised the kids, and I'm not saying that that people shouldn't be able to do that. Like that's part of the real point is that women and men should have that option, but it should be an option.
But it's not as though the man went out and worked. He did his job out. She did an equal job
she did her job at home.
Probably tougher than his job, because every day he went in and did the same thing. Every day she had the crisis of 4 children.
Right.
I think that this writer should look at it as being an equal division his parents had.
Yeah. Right. And that's also true. But my point is that it's a valid option, and they can have that. People can have that. But, you need to recognize that not all women are going to want to make that their entire life focus.
And they should be treated equally when they make that decision.
Right. And again, stay-at-home dads. Someone in my family is a stay-at-home dad, and his wife goes out. This is my brother. His wife goes out, and she works a good job, and my brother stays home and raises 2 beautiful kids. And
I think that happens more and more now.
Sounds like a great job to me. If this radio thing doesn't work out, I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Let's see. Oh, Than, you can read that.
Oh, you don't have to. You don't have to read that. Margaret thinks I'm a feminist, and that's why she married me, and I thank her for saying that, because sometimes I mentioned this before, Terry. We don't have much time left, so I'll kind of get down into this.
Read that sentence before you continue, please.
Okay, your guest is quite interesting and articulate. That comes from my wife.
Thank you, Margaret.
And yes, she thinks she's always thought that. What can I do? Because I try, and I get yelled at occasionally, and sometimes I tease. I said to you a little bit ago off air something like, we're going to talk recipes because you're a chick. I mean, I hope you understood that as being sarcasm.
But sometimes about recipes.
I write about recipes.
Yeah,
and the thing is, again,
But I use that terrible word chick.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, broad.
That skirt, dame.
Yeah. And I do that to joke, and some people don't take it as a joke, and I think men should learn that it's not always funny.
Yeah, well, it's not always funny, and it depends. The thing is, I mean, jokes depend on who's receiving them. So not everything is funny to everybody, and the thing is, with that, if somebody gets offended. There are a couple of different options. One is realize, Than doesn't want to offend me.
Yeah, because we're friends.
2 is, say constructively, listen, I don't find that funny. And then for the person who's making the joke, who's reprimanded to say, I'm sorry. And the thing is, it's so much easier.
My wife always says, if that was funny, I would be laughing.
There you go.
Terry, come back and visit us again, please.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
the webcam
Terry.
is up and running. It's also a 24-hour archive. Now, Kevin's going to make that work out well in a moment, so if you'd like to watch our program later, feel free to do so at WKOK.com. GroningerInsurance.com. We thank them for sponsoring the toll-free line. LenapeSolar.com. We thank them for sponsoring the in-basket with emails. And SunburyMotors.com. We thank them for sponsoring the umbrellas. You're listening to WKOK Sunbury.